My dear friends, remember this: no storm lasts forever. The thunder may roar, the lightning may strike, but sooner or later, even the darkest clouds must make way for the morning light. I know, sometimes life feels heavy. You wake up with worries that sit on your chest before you even get out of bed. Maybe you're waiting for a breakthrough that's taking too long. Maybe you've lost something you deeply loved, a person, a dream, an opportunity. In those moments, the mind whispers, will this ever end? But life, my friends, is like the weather. The seasons change, the storms don't stay. What you are going through now is not the end of your story. It's just a storm passing through your chapter. When life begins to shake, our first instinct is to fight the storm. We shout at the sky, asking, why me, why now? But the truth is, shouting at the clouds has never stopped the rain. In those moments of chaos, we forget the most powerful truth, that peace doesn't come from rolling the storm. It comes from accepting that the storm is here. You can't calm the waves by screaming at the ocean. You can only find stillness by calming the storm inside you. There was once a man who worked tirelessly for years to build his dream business. He poured his time, energy, and heart into it. One day, an unexpected crisis hit, and he lost everything overnight. The weight of it all crushed him. He stopped eating, stopped talking, and locked himself away in darkness. Weeks later, his old father came to visit him. The son poured out his pain, saying, everything I built gone in a moment. Why would life do this to me? His father quietly smiled and said, my son, when it rains, don't ask the clouds to stop, learn to dance in it. Those words changed him. For the first time, he understood that acceptance is not weakness, it is strength. It is not about agreeing with what happened, but acknowledging it without resistance. It's saying, this is my reality for now, but it will not define me. That simple act of acceptance allows the heart to breathe again. Because what we resist persists, and what we embrace begins to release its hold on us. When you accept the storm, you stop wasting your energy fighting it. You start using that same energy to grow through it. You begin to see things as they are, not as your fears imagine them to be. You begin to make wiser choices, not emotional ones. And slowly peace returns. Think of a river flowing through the rocks. It doesn't stop when it meets an obstacle, it simply flows around it. That's the secret of peace, to keep flowing. To allow life to be what it is while staying rooted in calm. But most people live like trees during a storm, rigid and resisting every gust. The ones that bend, the ones that accept, are the ones that survive. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop controlling. You stop asking why me and start asking what now. That shift in question changes everything. Because why me keeps you stuck in self-pity, while what now opens the door to transformation. You realize that maybe life isn't happening to you, maybe it's happening for you. In every challenge there's a hidden invitation to grow, to evolve, to trust. Life's greatest teachers rarely come dressed in comfort, they arrive as discomfort, loss, and uncertainty. But the wise ones know how to welcome them with grace. When your mind is peaceful, you can see the lesson within the chaos. When your heart is open, even pain becomes sacred. A monk once said, the more you try to push life away, the more it pushes back. The universe has its own rhythm, its own pace. Sometimes all we need to do is surrender to its timing. When we stop fighting reality, we stop suffering unnecessarily. Imagine a bird trying to fight the wind. It wastes its energy. But when it learns to ride the current, it travels further with less effort. That's what acceptance does. It helps you move forward even in the storm. Every time you accept, something inside you expands. You become more resilient, more grounded, more alive. Acceptance doesn't mean the storm disappears instantly. It means you find peace even while it rains. You realize that peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of God, in the quiet trust that somehow everything is unfolding exactly as it should. The man from our story rebuilt his business slowly, but this time he was different. He wasn't desperate. He wasn't afraid. He had learned to live with grace, and when the next storm came, and it always does, he didn't break down. He smiled and said, This too shall pass. That's the power of acceptance. It doesn't make the storm smaller, it makes you stronger. So the next time life rains on your plans, don't hide. Step outside, feel the raindrops, take a deep breath, whisper to yourself, it's okay. Because it is okay. You are not your failure, you are not your loss. You are the one who stands tall in the storm, holding faith like an umbrella over your soul. And when you truly accept where you are, life begins to move again. Slowly, silently, beautifully. Because peace isn't something you find, it's something that finds you. When you finally stop fighting what is, when life shakes you, your first thought is usually, I'm breaking. But what if in that very breaking, you're actually being built? You see, my friends, growth rarely feels like growth when it's happening. It feels like loss, like confusion, like chaos. The truth is, the most painful seasons of life are often the most purposeful ones. They just don't announce themselves as blessings. Every seed must first be buried before it becomes a tree. It sits in the darkness, covered by dirt, forgotten by the world. But under that soil, something sacred is happening. It's splitting open. It's surrendering its old shape so something stronger can be born. And that process hurts. Growth always begins where comfort ends. There was once a young sculptor who found a block of marble in the market. It was chipped, uneven, full of cracks. Everyone laughed at him for buying it. What will you do with that useless stone? They mocked. Months passed, and the sculptor worked day and night, chiseling piece by piece. He endured cuts on his hands, dust in his eyes, exhaustion in his bones. But he kept going. One morning, when he finally brushed away the dust, there stood a statue of breathtaking beauty. That same cracked marble had become art. When people asked how he saw such beauty in a broken stone, he said, "The beauty was always inside. I just had to remove what didn't belong." That is what life's storms do to us. They remove what doesn't belong. The ego, the fear, the pride, the attachment, they carve us into who we're meant to be. And though the process feels cruel, it is actually the most loving form of correction life can give. Sometimes the storm is not there to destroy your path, it's there to rect it. You lose a job and later find your purpose. You lose a relationship and discover your worth. You lose control and finally find faith. Isn't it strange how what we once called the end becomes the beginning when we look back? A dear friend once told me, "The storm that was meant to drown me taught me how to swim." That is the secret hidden in every hardship. You either sink in fear or rise in faith. And rising takes courage. It means trusting that even when the wind howls and the night is long, something within you is quietly becoming stronger. When we are comfortable, we grow slowly. But when we are challenged, we grow deeply. A calm sea never made a skilled sailor, and an easy life never made a wise soul. God doesn't test you to see you fail. He tests you to help you reveal the strength He already placed inside you. Without resistance, there is no resilience. Without storms, there are no rainbows. Think of the butterfly. Before it flies, it must struggle inside the company. Cocoon. That struggle pushes the blood into its wings. If someone tries to help it by opening the cocoon early, the butterfly never flies. The struggle is the process. The pressure is the preparation. And yet, in our human impatience, we want the storm to stop before it teaches us what it came to teach. We say, "God, remove this pain." But sometimes God whispers back, "My child, I'm not removing it. I'm using it." The pain is not punishment, it's preparation. The same storm that feels like it's breaking you is actually molding you into the person who can handle the blessings that are coming next. I've seen people lose everything and find peace. I've seen hearts shattered by betrayal become fountains of compassion. I've seen failure turn ordinary people into legends of perseverance. The only difference between those who grow and those who crumble is perspective. One says, "This is the end," the other says, "This is the lesson." Growth demands patience, just like a bamboo tree which stays hidden beneath the soil for years, quietly building its roots. And then when the time is right, It shoots up taller than all the trees around it. You may not see your progress now, but that doesn't mean you're not growing. You're just growing underground. The truth is, storms don't last forever, but what they build inside you does. They teach you faith that logic can't. They show you strength you didn't know you had. And when the sky's clear, you'll realize the version of you that walked into the storm is not the same one who walked out. You're wiser now, softer, yet stronger. So, when the next storm comes, don't only pray for it to end, pray to grow through it, pray to learn the lesson it carries, because somewhere inside the thunder and the rain, God is whispering, trust me, I'm growing you. And one day, when you look back, you'll smile and say, that storm didn't destroy me, it discovered me. When life's waves rise high and the winds begin to roar, the mind starts to panic. We look around, searching for something, anything to hold on to. But the truth is, in every storm, what saves the sailor is not his strength, not his speed, but his anchor. In the same way, when life tosses us around, our only true safety is faith. Faith is that invisible rope that ties our trembling heart to something greater than ourselves. Faith doesn't mean the storm will stop. It means you'll stay steady even while it rages. You see, peace is not found in calm waters. Peace is found in a calm heart. And the calm heart is the one that whispers, I may not know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. I once met a man who had lost everything, his business, his home, even his closest friend. When I asked him how he managed to still smile, he said softly, because I know this isn't the end of the story. The author hasn't finished writing yet. That, my friends, is faith, not blind optimism, not denial of reality, but trust. Deep, silent trust, that even in chaos there is meaning. When the waves rise, most people start rowing harder. They try to fix, control, and fight the water. But those who have faith drop their anchor first. They say, God, I can't calm this sea, but I can trust you to carry me through it. That surrender doesn't make you weak. It makes you unshakable. Because when your faith is strong, your fears lose their power. In the scriptures, there's a story of a little bird caught in a storm. The wind blew fiercely and all the trees around were bending and breaking. But the bird didn't panic. It found a small hole in a rock and hid inside. The storm screamed all night, but the bird rested. Why? Because it knew the rock would stand, even if the trees fell. My friends, faith is that rock. When everything else is uncertain, faith is the certainty that something eternal still holds you. There are moments in life when your plans collapse, when your prayers seem unanswered, when every door shuts. In those times, faith becomes the bridge between despair and hope. You can't always see where it leads, but you step forward anyway. That's what makes faith powerful. It teaches you to walk in the dark, trusting the light will come when you need it. People often say, I'll have faith when things get better, but that's not how it works. Faith is what makes things better. Faith is believing before the evidence appears. The seed doesn't see the sunlight, but it still pushes through the soil. The child doesn't understand the doctor's needle, but he trusts his mother's hand. That is faith, to rest in the love that's greater than your pain. Sometimes the reason we feel lost is not because life has abandoned us, but because we've abandoned our trust. We've forgotten that the one who brought us this far will not leave us halfway. Life may not always go according to our plan, but it always goes according to God's purpose. And faith helps you make peace with that truth. Think of the river. It doesn't fight the rock. In its way, it flows around them, trusting it will still reach the ocean. In the same way, faith doesn't remove the obstacles. It teaches you to move with grace through them. The person of faith doesn't say everything is perfect. They say, even when it isn't, I'm still okay. I've seen faith turn tears into courage, pain into wisdom, loss into testimony. It doesn't take away the night. It gives you the strength to walk through it until the dawn. And often, it is when everything falls apart that your faith truly awakens. Because when you have nothing left to hold on to, you finally realize faith was holding you all along. So, when the storm inside you feels unbearable, stop rowing for a moment, drop your anchor, close your eyes, whisper, I trust you. Maybe your situation won't change instantly. Maybe the storm will continue for a while, but something will shift, not outside but within. The heart that trusts becomes untouchable. In the end, faith doesn't promise you a life without storms. It promises you peace in the middle of them. And that peace, quiet, steady, divine, is worth more than all the calm seas in the world. So, my dear friends, when life shakes your boat and the waters rise high, don't panic. Remember your anchor. Hold your faith close, for when you trust the one who commands the waves, even the wildest sea cannot drown you. We live in a world that worships speed. Everything today is instant coffee, instant messages, instant success. We become so addicted to quick results that we start believing if something takes time, something's wrong. But my dear friends, patience isn't a weakness, it's quiet strength. It's not inaction, it's inner control. Patience means trusting that life unfolds not by our deadlines, but by divine timing. When a farmer plants a seed, he doesn't dig it up the next morning to see if it's growing. He waters it, nurtures it, and waits, because he knows that the soil works in silence. The same applies to life. You can't rush your season, you can only prepare for it. What's meant for you will never miss you, but it will come when you're ready, not when you're restless. There was once a young monk who went to his teacher and said, "Master, I've been meditating for months, but I feel no peace. When will I find enlightenment?" The old monk smiled and replied, "If you keep asking when, you never will." The boy looked puzzled. The teacher continued, "Patience is not waiting for peace to arrive. Patience is being peaceful while you wait." That truth is profound. Most people mistake waiting for patience. Waiting is passive. Patience is powerful. Waiting tests your nerves. Patience strengthens your spirit. It's easy to smile when things move fast, but true maturity is when you can smile while everything slows down. There are seasons in life when nothing seems to move. You're trying, you're praying, but the doors stay closed. You begin to wonder, has God forgotten me? But the truth is, He hasn't. The waiting room is not punishment, it's preparation. Sometimes God delays things not to deny you, but to develop you. You may not see it now, but He's building strength inside you that only time can create. Think of gold. Before it shines, it must go through fire. Before it glows, it must endure the heat. That's patience, enduring the process without losing faith in the outcome. Because if you rush what requires time, you destroy what could have been beautiful. You can't rush a sunrise, you can only wait and witness. You can't force a flower to bloom faster by pulling its petals open, you'll only ruin it. The same goes for your life. I remember meeting a man who had applied for his dream job several times and failed each time. He told me, "Maybe I'm just not good enough." I smiled and said, "Maybe life is still polishing you." Months later, he got the same job, but this time, he had learned skills he never would have learned had he been accepted earlier. He said, "If I had got it when I first wanted it, I wouldn't have been ready to keep it." That's the hidden blessing of patience. It doesn't just get you what you want, it makes you ready for what you receive. The world will tell you to hustle, to grind, to never stop moving. But sometimes the wisest thing you can do is pause. The caterpillar doesn't fight its cocoon. It rests, trusts, and transforms. When the time is right, it spreads its wings. But if it breaks out too soon, it dies. You see, every delay in your life has meaning. Every pause has purpose. The seed doesn't see the sunlight, yet it still pushes through the soil because it trusts that the light is there. That's patience, and patience doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you do what you can and surrender what you can't. It means you stop measuring your progress with someone else's clock. God's plans are tailor-made, not copy-pasted. Some people rise early like the morning sun, others bloom late like the evening star. Both nay at their appointed time. When you learn patience, you stop living in anxiety. You realize that timing is divine, not mechanical. You begin to see the wisdom behind the wait. Maybe you're being delayed so that something better can align. Maybe you're being held back so you don't collide with the wrong thing too soon. Maybe what you call delay is really protection. So when life slows you down, don't fight it. Slow down with it. Breathe, reflect, trust. The tree doesn't grow by pulling at its branches, it grows silently, steadily, one invisible inch at a time. The same miracle is happening in you. You're growing in ways you can't yet see, and one day when the right moment arrives, when the doors open and the path clears, you'll understand why it took so long. You'll look back and say, I wasn't waiting on life. Life was waiting on me to grow. So my friends, be patient, be still. Don't mistake silence for absence. God is never late, He's always on time. And when you trust that timing, your heart rests even when your plans don't. That stillness, that faith, that quiet surrender, that's real power. Because patience isn't the art of waiting, it's the art of trusting while you wait. Gratitude is easy when the sun is shining, when life is smooth, when prayers are answered, when blessings are visible. Saying thank you feels natural. But the true test of gratitude begins when the light fades, when the road gets rough, and when the heart is heavy. That's when gratitude becomes not just an emotion, but a choice, a spiritual discipline, a quiet act of courage. Because being thankful when life hurts is not denial, it's trust. There was once a woman who lost her husband in an accident. Her world fell apart in a single moment. For months she couldn't find meaning in anything. One evening she met a wise teacher who said, in every loss, look for what remains. Confused, she asked, what remains when everything is gone? The teacher smiled softly and replied, your ability to love, to care, to give, that remains. Life took one thing from you, but left many things with you. Focus on what's left. That one sentence changed her life. She began to notice small blessings again. Her children's laughter, the smell of rain, the warmth of friendship, the sunrise she had stopped watching. Gratitude didn't erase her pain, but it began to heal it. Because gratitude doesn't change what happens to us. It changes what happens within us. When we focus only on what we've lost, we suffer twice. Once in reality and once in memory. But when we turn our attention to what we still have, we awaken the part of us that refuses to be broken. That's why gratitude is not about ignoring the storm, it's about recognizing the shelter within it. Think about the most difficult times in your life. Maybe a betrayal, a heartbreak, a failure. Now ask yourself, didn't something good eventually come out of it? Maybe it taught you discernment. Maybe it made you stronger. Maybe it showed you who truly stands with you when the lights go out. Pain is often life's way of pruning us, removing what no longer serves us so something better can bloom. And gratitude is what helps us see that pruning not as punishment but preparation. A wise monk once said, the same boiling water that softens a potato hardens an egg. It's not the circumstance, but what you're made of that matters. Gratitude makes you like that egg, strong on the inside, because when you learn to say thank you even through tears, your pain becomes sacred. You stop asking why me and start saying what now. You start using your pain to serve a purpose greater than your own comfort. There's a story I often share about a man who lost his job unexpectedly. For months he struggled, but instead of sinking into despair, he began helping other unemployed people find work. Years later, that small act of service grew into a global organization that now helps thousands of families. He told me once, if I hadn't lost that job, I never would have found my calling. That's what gratitude does. It turns your wounds into wisdom and your setbacks into service. Gratitude transforms suffering into strength because it shifts your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. It opens your eyes to the truth that no matter how bad things get, there's always something left to be thankful for. Even if it's just the breath in your lungs or the lessons in your pain, sometimes gratitude is silent. It's not a loud celebration, it's quiet endurance. It's that moment when you whisper, Thank you, Lord. Even when your heart is breaking, not because you like what happened, but because you trust what it will become. That's maturity, that's spiritual strength. And when you live with gratitude, you stop carrying resentment. You stop blaming others. Stop replaying the past. Stop holding bitterness in your heart. You start to see that every person who hurt you was a teacher. Every delay, W, as protection. Every ending was a redirection. Gratitude opens your eyes to the hidden kindness of life, the mercy behind the mystery. One day when you look back, you'll realize that some of your greatest pains were actually divine blessings in disguise. The loss that made you weep also made you wise. The heartbreak that closed one door opened another. The failures that humiliated you humbled you, and that humility became the soil for your greatest growth. Gratitude helps you see that even when life doesn't give you what you want, it's still giving you what you need. So, my dear friends, when life breaks you down, don't just ask for strength, ask for perspective. Look for something, however small, to thank God for. Thank Him for the lesson, for the resilience, for the chance to begin again. Because every time you say thank you in the storm, you're telling the universe, I trust you. And trust always brings peace. Gratitude doesn't make the storm disappear, but it helps you die in the rain. It transforms the bitter into sweet, the pain into purpose, the wound into wisdom. It turns victims into victors and endings into new beginnings. So no matter where you are right now, whether in joy or in tears, pause, take a deep breath, look around. There's always something to be thankful for. And when you find it, you'll find strength. Because gratitude doesn't just change your day, it changes your destiny. There's a saying, when you light a lamp for someone else, it also brightens your path. Service, my friends, is not something we do when life is perfect. It's something that perfects life itself. And the truth is, sometimes the most powerful act of service comes not from strength, but from struggle. Because when you give while you're hurting, that giving becomes sacred. I remember visiting a small hospital once where a nurse greeted every patient with warmth, laughter, and love. Her energy was radiant, her kindness effortless. Later, I found out that he had lost her only son just 6 months before. I was silent. How could someone who had lost so much still smile so beautifully? When I asked her how she managed, she said softly, when I serve others, I feel closer to God. I heal while I help. Those words have never left me. I heal while I help. You see, serving others is not about having everything together. It's about offering whatever little light you have left, even when your own world feels dark. Because sometimes the best medicine for your pain is to ease someone else's. We live in a time where people are drowning in self-concern. My problem, my goal, my happiness. But the paradox of life is this: the more you give, the more you receive. The more you lift others, the lighter your own burden becomes. When you serve, your focus shifts from me to we, and that shift alone can heal your heart. There's an ancient parable about two men walking through the desert. Both were thirsty, exhausted, and near collapse. In the distance, one of them saw a broken man lying in the sand, unable to move. The first man thought, I can't stop, I'll never survive. The second man thought, if I leave him, I'll lose myself. So he lifted the man onto his back and continued walking. Hours later, when they reached a village, people rushed to help them both. What they discovered was astonishing. The man who carried the other survived because the body he carried had shielded him from the freezing desert wind. In saving another, he had unknowingly saved himself. That's the hidden magic of service. When you lift others, life lifts you. When you give, your pain begins to soften. When you care for others, even in your own chaos, you find meaning in the midst of mess. Because service gives your suffering a purpose. You don't need to have much to serve. You just need heart. Maybe all you can give today is a smile, a kind word, a listening ear. But never underestimate how much that can mean to someone who feels unseen. Sometimes the smallest act of love can echo louder than a lifetime of words. When we serve, we remember that we are not separate. We are all fragments of the same divine whole. The same breath flows through us all. When you comfort another's pain, you're really comforting a part of yourself. That's why helping others feels so right, because in that moment, you are aligned with your higher nature. And yes, it's not always easy. There will be times when your heart feels empty, your mind tired, your soul drained. But even then, especially then, find a way to give, because service doesn't deplete you, it renews you. The more love you pour out, the more love flows through you. God works through willing hands and compassionate hearts, even broken ones. I once asked a wise teacher, "Why do people who serve seem to smile even in pain?" He said, "Because they've learned to turn their wounds into windows through which light can pass." Isn't that beautiful? The world doesn't need perfect people. It needs people who are willing to love even when they're hurting, to give even when they're grieving, to stand for kindness when it costs them something. When you serve, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "How can I use this to help someone else?" That question transforms pain into purpose. It turns self-pity into selflessness. It takes your focus off your wounds and puts it on healing the world around you. And as you do that, something extraordinary happens. The same pain that once felt unbearable starts to feel meaningful. The same heart that was breaking begins to open wider. The same tears that once fell from despair begin to fall from gratitude, because service connects you to something eternal: love. The kind of love that doesn't depend on circumstances, that doesn't run dry, that only grows the more you share it. So, my dear friends, if life feels heavy, go and lighten someone else's load. If you're lonely, make someone else feel seen. If you're lost, guide someone who's more lost than you. Because when you become someone's blessing, you become your own. Even in your struggle, you have something to give. Your presence, your compassion, your care. And when you give, heaven takes notice. Because every act of service, no matter how small, is a prayer in motion. And maybe, just maybe, that's what storms are for. To remind us that even in our brokenness, we still have the power to love. There comes a point in every storm when we realize we've done all we can. We've tried every way, pushed every door, held on with all our might, and still life refuses to move as we wish. That's when the whisper comes, "Let go." Not in defeat, but in trust. Because sometimes what looks like falling apart is really life falling into place, just not according to our plan. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means giving space for God to work, for peace to return, for destiny to unfold. It means loosening the grip of control and say, "I may not understand it now, but I believe something good is hidden in this." The truth is, as long as we are holding tightly to how we think things should be, we can't receive what's meant to be. There was once a man who loved flying kites. One day his young son asked, "Papa, why do you hold this string so tight? Doesn't it stop the kite from flying higher?" The father smiled and said, "No, my boy. The string doesn't hold the kite down, it helps it rise. But if I pull too hard or refuse to release it when the wind changes, it will break." That's life. We hold on too tightly, to people, to plans, to outcomes. We grip them with fear, afraid of losing control. But life's beauty is like that kite. It needs freedom to fly. Some relationships, some dreams, some paths. They are not meant to be gripped forever. They are meant to be guided gently and then released with love when the wind changes direction. Letting go is hard because it feels like losing, but in truth it's gaining space for grace. It's surrendering the illusion that we were ever in control. The ocean waves don't ask the shore to stay still. They rise and fall, trusting the rhythm of the tide. The flower doesn't cling to its petals when they're ready to fall. It lets them go so fruit can grow. In the same way, we must learn the art of divine detachment, to hold everything with love but never with fear. There's a story of a woman who kept praying for a certain door in her life to open. Every day she begged, pleaded, waited, but it never did. Years later, she found herself walking a different path, one she hadn't even imagined before. It was there that she met her purpose, her peace and her joy. Looking back, she said, "Now I understand. God didn't ignore my prayer, He redirected it." That's what happens when you let go. You allow God to write a better story than the one you were forcing. Sometimes He closes doors not to punish you, but to protect you. Sometimes He removes people not because they were bad, but because their part in your story is complete. And sometimes He delays your blessing because your heart still needs refining before you can receive it fully. Surrender is not passive. It's the highest form of faith. It's saying, I will still show up, I will still give my best, but I will not force what is not meant for me. It's trusting that the one who brought you here will carry you further, even if the map is blurry. Because life becomes lighter when you stop dragging what's trying to leave. In my own journey, I've seen this truth again and again. The moment I let go, peace flows in. The moment I stop clinging, clarity returns. Because when we hold on too tightly, our hands are too full to receive new blessings. But when we open them, life places miracles right into them. We often say everything happens for a reason, but few realize sometimes that reason is hidden in the release. The heartbreak that emptied you might be the very thing that made space for our real love. The failure that humbled you might have prepared you for true success. The delay that frustrated you might have saved you from destruction. So, my dear friends, if you're holding on too tightly today to a plan, a person, a past, take a deep breath. Gently, lovingly let it go. Not in bitterness, but in faith. Say, God, I release this. I trust you more than I trust my fears. That single act of surrender will move more mountains than years of anxiety ever could. Because when you let go, you're not losing control. You're aligning with divine control. You're no longer trying to be the driver of life. You're letting the true driver steer. And the moment you do, the journey becomes smoother, lighter, calmer. Sometimes the most powerful prayer isn't give me what I want, but do what's best for me, even if I don't understand it right now. That prayer comes from surrender. That prayer is freedom. And when you live like that, holding life with open hands and a faithful heart, storms stop scaring you because you know no matter what happens, you are carried, you are guided, you are safe. So let go and let God work. Because the moment you surrender the fight for control, peace will return to your soul. And you'll finally see God's plans were never to harm you, but to heal you, grow you, and guide you towards something far more beautiful than you ever imagined. My dear friends, life will always have storms, some brief, some long, some that shake your world and test your spirit. But remember this, no storm, no matter how dark, has ever stopped the sun from rising again. And no pain, no matter how deep, has ever stopped the heart from healing when it chooses faith. Every difficult season has a divine purpose, to soften what was hard, to awaken what was asleep, to teach what comfort could never teach. God doesn't waste pain, He transforms it. Every tear you've shed is watering a future blessing you cannot yet see. Every delay, every detour, every heartbreak, all of it is part of a plan far greater than your understanding. The same God who calms the ocean can calm your heart. The same God who guides the stars can guide your path. So don't stress when life feels uncertain. Don't panic when plans fall apart. When you've done all you can, be still and let Him do what only He can. Your job is not to control the storm. Your job is to stay faithful through it. To keep walking even when visibility is low. To keep praying even when the answers are slow. To keep loving even when life feels unfair. Because faith is not about seeing the way. It's about trusting the one who makes the way. And one day you look back and realize every storm that tried to destroy you actually defined you. Every season of pain built strength, empathy, and wisdom within you. You'll see that what once felt like breaking was actually becoming. So if you're standing in the rain today, don't lose heart. The clouds may be heavy now, but they will pass. The thunder may roar, but it will fade. And when it does, you'll find yourself standing in the light, stronger, calmer, wiser, and closer to God than you've ever been. Because in the end, storms don't last. Faith does. Love does, gratitude does. And when you live with those, no storm can ever truly shake you again. So take a deep breath, lift your eyes, trust the process. Because every storm in life eventually passes, and when it does, you'll understand. It wasn't the storm that shaped you, it was your faith in the storm that made you who you are.